So this month we're going to try and get through some of the many subscription box books that I have not been reading. Hi everyone, my name's Chloe, welcome back to my channel. Thank you for being here today. Today's video is going to be my September round of TBR M.A.S.H. TBR M.A.S.H, for anyone who doesn't know, is my TBR game. It is inspired by the childhood game of M.A.S.H. So usually you would use that to predict your life. I use it to dictate my reading life. Every one of these cards has a prompt on there. I use a random number generator to work my way around the board, eliminating one each time as I go until there's only one left in each section. And that is a prompt that I use to pick my TBR. This month we are doing things a little bit differently for a couple of reasons. Number one, I mean, it's different from last month because I'm actually sober this time. Sorry for anyone who was wanting Tipsy TBR M.A.S.H to make another appearance. Maybe in the future, not this month. It's actually the middle of a work day, so I'm very sober right now. I'm on my lunch break. But the other big differences is two things. One is that I want to get through some subscription box books. Subbox September is what I'm loosely calling it. It's one of those things again where I kind of just decide to do this by myself. If anyone else wants to join in, feel free. But I will be reading subscription box books this month. I have actually catalogued all my books recently and I have separated all the subscription box books out so that those are the only ones I have to pick from. I will say that if it's a special edition that's not part of the regular monthly books, I'm still allowed to read it. Also, you may notice I have extras down here because there are a couple of rules with TBR M.A.S.H. Again, for anyone who maybe hasn't seen one of these videos before, the general rules is that if the same colour comes up twice, I have to add an extra pick, and if I get a +1, I have to add an extra pick. Now, the extra picks, I generally use some ones that are left over from around earlier on in the year where my friends picked my TBR. So one of those books does actually work for the subscription box books and I haven't read it yet. So that is what that is, and I will get to it if I get a +1. But basically if I get a +1 this month, I already know what the book is and I will tell you guys about that later. So the other thing that's different other than me just trying to fill it with subscription box books is that I will be taking part in Becca's Bookoplathon this month, which is Becca from Becca and the Books Readathon. I love taking part in this, whether it's a 48-hour or the month-long version. Basically it's all based around her TBR game, it's based around Monopoly, and there is a board that you play your way around and you get prompts from that. I will be doing that at the end of this video. I'm going to do it in the same way that I did when I did this last year, which is basically I'm going to play TBR M.A.S.H, I'm going to pick my regular TBR, and then I'm going to play Bookopoly afterwards. I'm going to do similar amount of rolls, so I'm going to do 5 because I have 5 prompts that I should generally get in here. If you get doubles in that, you do have to pick extras. What I will try and do is match up the books that I pick for Bookoplathon with whatever comes up in M.A.S.H. If I can't, it just means I'm going to have a bigger TBR. But I'm going to focus on this one first. What I will also say is that in terms of any punishments or anything, I will only be using the ones on TBR M.A.S.H because that is my TBR game and that is the one that influences whether or not I have punishments. So these are kind of priority reads. I am me though, and I will desperately try and fit everything in that I can do. I do not want a punishment. I had one last month. It actually worked out pretty well for me. For anyone who was maybe intrigued by it, if you want to see how lame this went, there is a vlog already up now. But yeah, editing Chloe jumping in here. Firstly, sorry about the noise you'll probably hear from the fan. Harry is very hot. He is priority. I'm not turning it off, just film this really quick clip. Basically, I forgot to mention a readathon and I felt really bad about it because it's actually hosted by one of my friends. It is Wayward Son-a-thon, which is a readathon which is all inspired by the TV show Supernatural. There is a bingo board full of prompts. It is hosted by the lovely Gem from Bookish Gems and also Amy from Booktube with Amy. And it is running from the 12th to the 18th of September. I will not be doing like a planned TBR for it. Obviously, I've already done my TBR that you're going to see in a minute. And I'm going to be using those books to fit as many prompts as physically possible. Have had a look already. A lot of the ones that I picked do fit. It's just figuring out which ones to read during that week. But I'm just going to kind of see how it goes. If I need to add extra things for my TBR, I will do. But you will see that in vlogs instead. I just wanted to make sure I gave it a quick shout out in this video. And I'm going to link all the information for that readathon down below as well. That is pretty much everything I think you need to know. Other than to say I will not be taking a punishment this month. I'm filming this about a week before the end of the month. But I only have 2 books left to read. One of them is a novella. I'm going to be absolutely fine. So no punishments for me this month, which I'm again very happy about. What we need to do now though is pick our number so we can work our way around this board. So I just put my parameters between 5 and 15, and this month we have got 7 is what we got last month, I'm pretty sure, and 7 is also what I got last time I did this. I'm gonna do it again. I don't trust this. Okay, we got an 8, we got 1 different. But yeah, I don't want to, like, if I just get 7 every month, I'm going to know exactly what I'm picking each time I do it, or at least like where it's going to land, which is not as fun when it gets to M.A.S.H. That's what I haven't explained. I knew there was something I was missing. The final prompt that I pick every month is M.A.S.H, which is in the game stands for Mansion, Apartment, Shack, House. For me, Mansion is a big book, an apartment is a small book, Shack is a book you've been putting off, and a house is a mood read. So obviously for this it is a little bit different with the subscription boxes. It's only for apartment. Basically if a small book comes up, I'm just going to go with the smallest book that I have from a subscription box. It doesn't have to be under the 200 pages that I would normally aim for it to be. There we go. I think I've actually covered everything now. So you guys don't need to see me count. Let's speed this up. And yes, this month I will actually remember to speed it up. That seemed to take forever to get the first prompt, and it also means it's going to take very, very little time to get any of the rest of the prompts. But let's see what this first one is. It is a booktuber recommendation. So I need to look through my subscription box books and pick which one is a booktuber rec. I already know what I'm going to pick because I wanted to read this month anyway, and why not also get a friend recommendation in with a booktuber recommendation. So let me just go and grab it. So for booktuber recommendation, I'm going to be reading Love on the Brain by Ali Hazelwood. For anyone who watches the other Becca Fowles channel, you will know that she is obsessed with Ali Hazelwood and she recommends her books constantly. She literally put a tweet out yesterday saying, "This is coming out tomorrow, please go and buy it." This is the Afterlight edition. I would like to read this as soon as possible. It came in a subscription box. Yes, it's not really helping with my backlist books because it is literally the most recent subscription box book that I've got that I haven't already read. Babel doesn't count. But it's stopping the backlist from getting bigger. And like I said, I wanted to read it anyway. So yeah, Love on the Brain by Ali Hazelwood. I could tell you a synopsis, but I don't really know. Ali Hazelwood writes romances that are set in the world of STEM. That's all I need to know. I don't want to know too much about what the concept is going into it because I just want to be surprised, but I've heard nothing but good things about it. Danny also read it yesterday, like she read it in one day and gave it 5 stars. So I'm excited to read this one, and I'm sure Becca will be very happy to see that this is the first one that is on my TBR this month. Right, let's pick our second prompt, shall we? I told you it's going to be really quick because now literally I just have to count once each time, but let's see what this one is. We have got, it's the same colour. That's why I made that this. Most recent purchase. Okay, so that should actually be Love on the Brain, technically. I will say, I'm not doing any rereads this month. I don't want it to be a way to do, I don't want it to just be that I reread books from subscription boxes that are my favourites, because like I said, the most recent subscription box book that I received was actually Babel. But I don't want it to be that. So, I'm gonna stretch it just a tiny little bit just because there is a book. I've received a few subscription box books in the last like couple of weeks, and this one isn't technically the newest one I've got, but it's one of the ones I'm most excited for, and seeing as though I've got to put an extra one on there anyway, let's be nice to myself, shall we? So I'm just gonna go and grab that. So for this one, I am going to be reading M.A.S.H by Neil Shusterman. I bought the M.A.S.H trilogy. I have not read any of the books in the trilogy yet, but I didn't want to miss out on the set if I ended up really loving it. So I bought this. I've owned it for a while, but now I have a subscription box version, so it works for this. And I've realised this is a very Becca focused TBR because this is one of her favourites again, and you'll see what I mean by Becca focused TBR in a minute because you'll see what the extra book is. This is about a world where, because of scientific advancements, people don't die of natural causes. So in order to control the population, there are these people called scythes who have to glean people, which is essentially to kill them, and it is about 2 scythes in training, I believe. That is about all I know. That's about all I want to know. It sounds really interesting. I've heard very good things about particularly this one. I know that the ending is a bit divisive, but I'm still very intrigued, and this set is beautiful, so I really hope I like it. But yeah, I'm reading M.A.S.H. So normally I leave the extra until the end because it's a surprise which one I pick, but I already know I've got to do it and I already know what it is. So this one It's going to be, like I said, it's a Becca pick. It's Furyborn by Claire Legrand. I'm just going to go and grab it and then I will talk you guys through it. So I got an arc of this in Illumicrate. Fairy Loot, many years ago. It said it's coming out in May 2018, so to give you an idea of how many years ago this was. Again, I know very little about the story. I'm not going to read too much. It says, two queens will rise, one with the power to save the world, one with the power to destroy it. They carry your fate in their hands. I believe, is it set in two different timelines, I believe. I know there's like two different timelines to it, I believe, because it says that there's two characters. There's one called Riel and there's one called Eliana, and it tells you about Riel's storyline, and then it says 1,000 years later the legend of Queen Riel is a mere fairy tale to bounty hunter Eliana. It says, but I believe they are the two main characters, so I think there's two timelines in it, which I'm very excited for because I like things like that. Again, Becca's recommended it to me, but I also know that Jem read it recently and she enjoyed it, so multiple friends recommending this one, which is good. And yeah, it's one that I've been wanting to read for ages and just keep putting off. So I'm actually really happy that this is making me read it. This is what seems to be happening so far. We've got one that I was planning on reading anyway, and then two that I've just been putting off for ages. It's going well. Right, so it's time to pick prompt number 3. And again, ridiculously quick. But this one is a 5-star prediction. Bear with me 1 second, I'm going to have to go and consult my spreadsheet. Again, with the books that Becca loves. I'm going to have to send her a message after I film this and just be like, you need to watch my TBR this month because I think you're going to like it. But the book I'm going to read is, spoiler alert, by Olivia Dade. This is another one that came in an Afterlight box. I have been wanting to read it for quite a while now, and it is a romance that is set in the world of fandom, which sounds fantastic. And yeah, I would looked at all the fantasies and things that I've got from Fairy Loots and Illumicrates, and I'm like, I'm not sure which one of those I would give 5 stars to, but this sounds like my type of romance. It's basically about a writer on a TV show, but he's also a fanfic writer. And the other character does plus-size cosplay, and one of her cosplays goes viral, and it says, when Marcus asks her out to spy her critics, truth officially becomes stranger than fanfiction. And yeah, I'm just excited. I like things that are based around fandom. I like romances. It's fun. I've got a nice balance of romance and fantasy on this TBR. I'm really looking forward to this month now. I really hope that I can fit these onto Bookoplathon. I've just realised that I've got to try and fit these onto Bookoplathon. Right, let's pick our last prompt before we get to M.A.S.H, shall we? So, our last prompt is very easy to do. It says a hardback. Pretty much all of the box subscription books are hardbacks, so I just basically get to pick which one I'm most interested in. I like this. So for this one, I'm going to go with A Marvelous Light by M.A.S.H. So this is a historical fiction and it's queer, and I don't really know too much else about it, and I don't want to know too much else about it, but this cover is beautiful, and I would like to get the matching edition of the sequel, but I should probably check that I like the first one first. So why not? It's definitely a hardback. Look at those edges. It's stunning. So yeah, I'm gonna be reading this one. Again, I know nothing. It says mystery, magic, murder, marvelous. Sounds great to me. So last but not least, we need to pick M.A.S.H to pick our final TBR M.A.S.H book of the month. Let's go. And of course we were going to get Mansion. Mansion means a big book. It means it needs to be over 500 pages. I don't know which of these are actually over 500 pages. So again, I'm going to go and consult the spreadsheet. I'll be back with you in a minute. Okay, so this is technically over 500 pages if we count the acknowledgements, which I'm going to. So I'm reading Legendborn by Tracy Dion. This was an extra book in an Illumicrate, I believe. And again, I don't know too much about it. I know it's got like a Welsh influence to the magic, and that is about all I know. But I know friends really love it, and there was a special edition of it coming out, and I should probably see if I like it before I decide if I want to buy the special edition. And I think that goes on sale in September, so maybe make this one of my first reads. But Legendborn by Tracy Dion. I'll be reading this one this month. I think I might get the audiobook for this one though, because her writing in the paperback is absolutely tiny and nobody needs to be doing that. But yeah, Legendborn. So these are my books that I'm going to be reading for TBR M.A.S.H. We've got Love on the Brain, Scythe, Furyborn, A Marvelous Light, spoiler alert, and Legendborn. Which is a nice mix. It's a nice mix of different types of books. we'll see how Bookopoly goes, shall we? What I'm going to do is pass you over to Chloe from the future, who is going to do the rolls and figure out what her TBR is going to be for Bookoplathon, and then I will come back to me to wrap up the video. Okay, so we have got our Bookopoly board, we've got a counter, it's Alex from Red, White and Royal Blue, and we've got our dice. So we're going to do 5 rolls, and it's time for roll number 1. So we've got a 9, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Buildings. So it has to have buildings on the front cover. I do apologise if the lighting's a little bit strange in this video. I can't bother to get my lights out. It's the middle of the day and my window's an awkward place to film in, but we're going to make do. Anyway, first roll of Bookopoly, you will have seen by now, landed on buildings. So that means it needs to have a building on the cover. Now, I may have stretched this just a little bit. So this is a book I'm going to be reading. It is The Viscount Who Loved Me by Julia Quinn. It's the second book in the Bridgerton series. As you can see, this does not actually have a building on the cover. It has a bee on the cover. But when you put all the spines together of this Illumicrate set, you get a building. You get the Bridgerton house. So I'm counting it because that is definitely part of a building. And basically none of the books I've already picked fit for this. So I needed something easier. I'll be listening to the audiobook of this. So I'll put this one on there. I feel like that's a good choice. Okay, time for roll number 2. And that is a number 8. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So that is a community shelf card. Just move that. And that one is a pet pick. So I will get Harry involved in this later on. Okay, so for prompt number 2, I landed on community shelf, which you will have seen ended up with pet pick. Now, as of filming this, I haven't actually got Harry to pick what I'm going to be reading. Basically, all of my community shelf cards were ones that were out of my control. So pet pick, mum pick, friend pick, and then one where I just had to pay M.A.S.H to pick what I was going to read. We ended up on pet pick, which is fun. We get to see Harry. I will insert a clip of him picking the book in a minute, but I will tell you what books he has to choose from. I have basically put on the books that were on my chance cards because, spoiler alert, chance did not come up. So I thought I might as well use them somehow. So I ended up doing 2 books that are already on my TBR and 2 books that aren't, to try and to make it fair. It could go either way. We don't know. I still don't know. But the 2 books that are already on my TBR that are on the chance cards are Scythe by Neil Schusterman. We have that one right here. We've also got Love on the Brain by Ali Hazelwood, which is right here. And then the other 2 that I'm adding, both subscription box books, again, technically. The first one, we'll get the technically out of the way. It's The Inheritance Games by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. Obviously, this is not a subscription box book, but I have ordered the set from Fairy Loom, so should probably see if I actually like the series. I just have a feeling I will. So, and I'm glad I ordered them because they sold out very quickly. But yeah, I thought this was a good way for me to read it and be already on that with that series before they come. So maybe Harry will pick this one, we don't know yet. And then the other option that he is getting is The Undertaking of Part and Mercy by Megan Bannon. This came in the adult Fairy Loot recently. It is like a fantasy version of You've Got Mail. It sounds great. And I thought it was a nice in-between, like it's a fantasy, but it's also like a rom-com. So, but it'd be, if I had to read it as an extra, it wouldn't be the end of the world. It doesn't seem like it's going to be too intensive of a read. But I didn't actually show you those, but they were my other chance cards as well. So I will insert a clip here of Harry picking which one of those I'm reading. Okay, Haribo, you have got an important decision to make. I am definitely waking him up right now, but he does need to move anyway. So let's go take him to the books. Harry is refusing to pick a book. I've shown him that they are biscuits, but for some reason he does not want to pick one. Bear with me 1 second. Oh, we've got one. We've gone for Scythe. And then on The Undertaking of Heart and Mercy, and then Love on the Brain, and then The Inheritance Games, because of course he's having all of them. That's a goodbye. It's a goodbye. Thank you for picking something that's already on my TBR. Thank you. Ball number 3. We've got a 6. 1, 2, 3, 4. Which is a letter. So I need to get a random letter generator, and that will pick the first letter of the book I'm going to read. I'm definitely going to have to add some extra books onto this TBR. I then landed on Random Letter Generator, which again, I'm going to insert this here. You'll see my screen recording of me picking the letter, and very luckily it ended up with an M, and basically the letter could be either the first letter of the book or the first letter of the first or last name of the author. So I picked one that was already on my TBR that is kind of all of the above, because you can ignore, Becca did say on a recent recommendations video, you can ignore like those sorts of things at the beginning. So A Marvellous Light, Marvellous begins with M, but it's also written by Freya Marske, and that is an M. So I'm just gonna double up on that one, make my life a little bit easier. Rule number 4, and that is a 5. Which is a mood read. Thank you for that. That means I can literally pick anything, which definitely means I'm going to add one of the ones that I've already picked. Next up, I landed on mood read. Obviously, I do not need to pick what this is right now, although I will say there is one book that I would like to read this month. It is not a subscription box book. It's just out at the very end of August, very beginning of September, and I will want to read it very quickly, and that is Carrie Soto is Back by Taylor Jenkins Reid. So there is a strong chance that I will use that one for this prompt. I'm going to be reading it anyway, so I might as well use it to fulfill a prompt. If not, obviously just anything that's on my TBR will work for this, which is fantastic. And then rule number 5, hopefully the last roll. So we have a 9, and that is a big book, over 500 pages, which is absolutely fine because that's already come up in TBR M.A.S.H. Right, that could have actually gone a lot worse. And then last but not least, I ended up on big book, which is over 500 pages, which is exactly the same prompt as I got in M.A.S.H. So of course I'll be using the same book, and that is Legend Born by Tracy Deonn. So I think Bookopoly actually worked quite well for me. I had notables, and I've only had to add 1, maybe 2, depending on what Harry's picked. I still don't know. Mood read, like I said, I can go either way, but basically let's just hold up my TBR again. So this is now my TBR plus possibly 1, maybe 2 other books, but like I'm quite happy with this. It's not necessarily getting my like backlist of books down, the ones that I've had for ages and I don't necessarily have the inclination to read, but it's at least making me read the ones that I'm actually really excited for. So I'm still feeling good about the amount of subscription box books I'm going to get off my TBR this month. So I'm going to pass you back to Chloe from the past, who has no idea what's just happened in Bookopoly. Is probably terrified that it's going to be cruel to her, but it's fine, we know how it went, and yeah, I'll pass it back to her to wrap up the video. So I have no idea what I just picked, but hopefully it was nice to me. We will see. But that is pretty much everything for today. Thank you guys for watching. Please like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff down below, and I will see you guys next time with a new video. Bye.